CQ, calling all radio amateurs and shortwave listeners. This is GB2RS, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain, coming to you from amateur radio station G8LES, located at Foremarks in Hampshire, and I'm standing in for Roy G8CKN. Transmitting on 145.525 MHz FM via 77 repeater GB3BN at Bracknell and 23 SEM ATV on 1248 MHz into the GB3 HV ATV complex at Farnham. You can watch the RSGB news live. You will need an up-to-date Adobe Flash Player on your computer. If you have, open your web browser and go to allthews.bravo alpha tango charlie tango victor allthews.batc.tv. When the page is up, click on the ATV repeaters box on the left, select GB3 HV from the list. Click the View Stream button at the bottom of the list. This will open a video window beside a chat page and you can watch the GB2RS news broadcast, and in full screen if you wish. You will need to turn the sound up on your computer. This is the GB2RS news for today, Sunday the 20th of April 2013. The news headlines. RSGB Contest Committee newsletter is released. IARU Region 1 interim meeting news, and school visits start to the National Radio Centre. The latest RSGB Contest Committee newsletter is now available. You can subscribe to this newsletter by visiting allthews.rsgbcc.org and clicking on the link in the box at the top of the page. You may also be interested to learn that special centenary commemorative certificates will be available for entrance in this year's VHF NFD, although the rules for VHF NFD itself are unchanged. Special centenary commemorative certificates will also be available to all participants in July's RSGB IOTA contest. More information will be published on the Contest Committee website nearer the contest. IARU Region 1 held its interim meeting in Vienna last weekend. The RSGB presented a total of 11 papers, 3 on HF matters and 8 on VHF and microwaves. The RSGB was represented by Murray Nyman, G6JYB, and Ian Greenshields, G4FSU. HF topics included preparations for the WRC15, which includes the possibility of a worldwide amateur location at 5 MHz. Other proposals included trying to align some of the HF band plans between regions and the De-Expedition Code of Conduct. A number of these papers covered contest matters supported for newcomers via JOTA, operation of unmanned stations, and discussions on a possible band plan for the new 472 to 479 kHz amateur allocation. For VHF and microwaves, there were a total of 34 papers that covered technical, operating, band planning and contest matters. Areas of focus were improvements to IARU contests and accommodating digital voice, beacon and TV developments. Band plans at 4 meters and 70 SEMS came under particular scrutiny. Pressure on spectrum, notably at 2.3 GHz, was also discussed. Several topics are expected to be further developed in time for the next Region 1 conference, which is in the autumn of 2014. The minutes and recommendations of the interim meeting will be published shortly, once approved by the Region 1 Executive Committee. The National Radio Centre had its first school visit as part of the Bletchley Park Education Programme last week. 60 pupils aged around 10 years from Christ the Sower Ecumenical Primary School visited the centre in 4 groups, spending around 45 minutes exploring the exhibits. The visit was enjoyed by pupils, and the RSGB is looking forward to welcoming more schools. This week, 60 12-year-old pupils from Hill House International Junior School will visit the centre. G100 RSGB, the special events call sign celebrating the RSGB centenary, will be operated by CDXC from Maplehurst today using the 10 to 160 metre bands. Monday sees Horndean and District running HF and 2 metres from Cosham, and then on Tuesday Breed Steam Amateur Radio Society will transmit from Rye on the 10 to 80 metre bands and 2 metres. On Wednesday, Crawley Amateur Radio Club will run from top band to 23 sems and will include data modes. On the 2nd and 3rd of May, Mid Sussex Amateur Radio Club will run 15 to 80 metres plus 2 metres from Burgess Hill. Saturday sees Hastings Electronics Radio Club running 10 to 80 metres plus 2 metres and 77. Finally for this week, Horsham Amateur Radio Club will transmit from St Leonard's next Sunday and Monday on the 10 to 80 metre bands plus 2 metres and 77s. Details of how to get your QSL card are on the website allthews.rsgb.org.uk under the Operating drop-down menu. Then click on Centenary Station. The Arfon Repeater Group 2 metre repeater GB3AR is once again connected to the Echolink system following an NOV being issued to Brian GW4KAZ. The GB3AR logic requires either CTC-SS or tone burst for access from RF, plus audio of about 7 seconds to allow the logic to initiate. This period of audio is also required from internet access. Reports and constructive comments will be welcomed, and further information on the Arfon repeater group can be found at allthews.arfon.info. The twice delayed maiden flight of the Orbital Sciences Corporation Antares rocket carrying 3 CubeSats launched finally on the 21st of April. All 3 of the PhoneSat based CubeSats carry an amateur radio payload downlinking on 437.425 MHz. Each CubeSat transmits during individual time slots using AFSK modulation at 1200 bits per second, AX25 packet coding, and have vertical linear polarization. The orbit of the PhoneSat satellites are very low, and they are only expected to remain on orbit for 2 weeks. The Bath-based Advanced Distance Learning team are starting to plan for their next course, which will run from June to December 2013. There are no fees for the classes, but students will need to buy a copy of the RSGB Advanced Full Licence book and will of course need to pay the exam fee. Full details can be had from Steve Hartley, G0FUW, via G0FUW@tiscali.co.uk. And now for the details of rallies and events for the coming week. Today, the 28th of April, and on the 29th of April, Yeovil QRP convention takes place in Digby Hall, Hound Street, Sherborne, Dorset, very important postcode, DT9 Delta Tango 9 3 Alpha Alpha. Doors open at 9:30 AM and there will be a trade stand and lectures as well as bring and buy. Details from Steve G7AHP on 01803 666 407. The Dambusters Hamfest will take place on the 5th of May at Thorpe Camp Visitor Centre, Coningsby, Lincolnshire. Postcode coming up, Lima November 4 Papa Echo. Doors open at 10 AM and entry is only £3. This year there will be a bring and buy, and GB617 SQN will be on the air. The Dartmoor Radio Rally is taking place on the 6th of May, the Bank Holiday Monday, at Tavistock College, Crowndale Road, Tavistock, Devon. Papa Lima 19, 8 Delta Delta, PL 19, 8DD. Doors open at 10:30 AM, with the entry being even less at £2. There will be trade stands and a bring and buy. Details from Viv on 01752 823 427. Now for the news of special events. The Radio Society of Harrow will be running a demonstration station GX3 Echo Fox X-Ray at the Harrow Museum Day celebrations, and that's at Headstone Manor in Harrow, and it's also on the Bank Holiday Monday, the 6th of May. Details from Linda G7RJL on 020 8386 8586. GB4 Papa Echo November, GB4 Pen, is a CW only special event station running from the 10th of May for 14 days to remember the loss of the Penlee lifeboat. Full details on qrz.com. And now the DX News compiled from 425 DX News and other sources. 9M2SE, 9 Mike 2 Sierra Echo, will be activating Perhentian Besar Island IOTA AS-073 from the 1st to the 3rd of May. The group will use a pair of 100-watt transceivers on the 10 to 40 metre bands running CW, SSB and some digital modes. For QSL information, please check 9M2SE carefully on qrz.com. Victor R6AF will be active as Delta Uniform 1 /R6 Alpha Fox from Buzuranga Island, which is IOTA reference OC-090, and that's happening until the 3rd of May. JD1YBT and JD1BLC, so that again is Juliet Delta 1 Yankee Bravo Tango and Juliet Delta 1 Bravo Lima Charlie, will be on the air from Chichiyama, which is IOTA reference AS-031 until the 5th of May. Plans are to be active on the 6 to 160 metre bands using CW, SSB, RTTY plus FM on 10 metres. QSL both calls via Juliet Papa 1 India Oscar Fox and Logbook of the World. A large group of Italian amateurs will operate from Djerba Island, Tunisia, until the 4th of May. They will use the call sign Tango Sierra 8 Italy Tango, TS8IT. This operation will count as AF-083 for the Islands on the Air Award. The QSL manager is India Kilo 2 Delta Uniform Whiskey. And now the contest news. The BARTG Sprint contest takes place for 4 hours starting 1700 today, the 28th. Please note that all activity is at 75 volts and the contest exchange is a serial number only. The 70 MHz UK activity contest takes place from 1900 to 2130 UTC on the 30th of April. This is using all modes. The exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. The 432 MHz to 248 GHz trophy contest runs from 1400 UTC on the 4th of May to the 1400 UTC on the 5th of May. Using all modes, the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. There are actually 2 contests running between 1400 and 2200 UTC on the 4th of May, the 432 MHz trophy and the 10 GHz trophy. In both contests you can use all modes and the exchange is the same. Signal report, serial number and locator. The Work Tool Britain LF phone contest on the 40, 80 and 160 metre bands is next Sunday the 5th of May. Running from 10 o'clock till 1400 UTC, the exchange is signal report, serial number and WAB square. Entries need to be with the contest manager by the 26th of May. Full details of the rules and log sheets can be obtained from the WAB website, allthews.worked-all-britain.co.uk or from the contest manager G3XKT by email to aebbooks, that's all one word, at ntl.com. And now the solar factual data for the period from Friday the 19th to Thursday the 25th of April, compiled by Neil Clark, G0CAS, on Friday the 26th of April. Sunspot regions were visible every day throughout the period, with one group which was much larger and magnetically more complex than the others. The region produced numerous C-class solar flares every day, and on the 22nd an impulsive M1 class solar flare took place, which increased activity from low to moderate levels. Solar flux levels increased from 99 units on the 19th to 119 on the 25th. The average was 111 units. The 90-day solar flux average on the 25th was 112 units. That's 1 unit up on last week. X-ray flux levels increased from B 2.5 units on the 19th to B 7.3 units by the 25th. The average was B 4.5 units. Geomagnetic activity was quiet every day until the 24th, when a predicted coronal hole disturbance arrived late on the 23rd. The AP index for the 24th was 24 units. The average was AP 7 units. Solar wind data from the ACE spacecraft saw solar wind speeds increase from a very slow 240 km per second on the 21st to peak at 480 by the 24th. Particle densities were low initially, but increased to 105 particles per cubic centimetre on the 23rd and 168 on the 24th. I feel sure that these are the highest densities recorded here so far on GB2RS. BZ varied between -5 and +6 nanoteslas prior to the arrival of the coronal hole disturbance, and between -12 and +11 nanoteslas during the disturbance. A good sporadic E opening took place during the afternoon of the 24th on 50 MHz. Also around the same time, an aurora reached the north of Scotland. And finally, the solar forecast for this coming week. This week, the more active side of the Sun is expected to be looking our way. Several sunspot regions should be in view, with more rotating into view during the week. These regions have produced solar flares, while on the far side of the Sun. Solar activity is expected to be low, but could increase to moderate or high on the occasional day. Solar flux levels are expected to increase and be around 130 units for most of the week. Geomagnetic activity is expected to be at quiet levels, but if a coronal mass ejection heads our way, then activity could increase. Maximum usable frequencies during daylight hours at equal latitudes should be around 23 MHz for the south and 20 MHz for the north. Darkness hour lows should be around 12 MHz. Past this week to Australia should have maximum usable frequency with a 50% success rate around 24 MHz. The optimum working frequency with a 90% success rate will be around 18 MHz. The best time to try this path will be between 0900 and 1100 hours UTC. Sporadic E should take place on some days, especially on 28 MHz and occasionally on 50 MHz. Well, that's it for this week from the propagation team.